London, England. London is actually the first place I have visited where Spanish is not the primary language. Fortunately for me, my fiancé is actually from London. That's right, I managed to beg a Brit, and he's brown. So with his help, I thought I'd show you from my point of view what it's like to visit jolly old London. Speaking of old, this place is really old. I mean, it makes the US look like a young child. A young child who was colonized by England before it grew a pair, blossomed into its teenage years, and rebelled against its European parents to become the young adult you see today. But seriously, this place is old.
How old do you think this is? So how old do you think this white tower is? How old do you think this is? So how old is this church?
675 AD.
Neil also explained to me that Mexican and Latin food in general was pretty scarce, so of course I brought my tortillas along. You know, just in case. Our first stop was
Hampton Court Palace,
a beautiful historic castle.
So this is like a legit castle.
No, it's a palace.
It's like a castle.
No, it's really just a palace.
We have castles in America. They're usually owned by a giant mouse.
Okay, so it's a palace. Once we were in, they let us wear a traditional royal cloak during our visit.
I hope I don't get bed bugs.
This place was massive. We saw where King Henry VIII lived, ruled, and all the places he probably spent pondering about killing his wives. The costumes back then were very elaborate, too.
This looks like my quinceañera dress.
After learning about all the history of these rulers, I started to feel a little royal myself.
You look like the Reina de London.
Reina.
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 Our next stop was a maze where only the strong survive. It started out easy enough, but I was quick to lose my bearings. Climates started to change, and I wasn't sure if I would ever get out.
guys, that way.
Okay, I'm gonna follow you.
Finally, we made it out, after what seemed like hours, but who could know how long it really took.
It was about 5 minutes.
Later that evening, I decided to chat with the locals.
Just cruising over.
Even though everyone here speaks English, it's quite a different English.
Woozing on the dog and bone.
And I often had trouble understanding what the hell anyone was saying. Until, of course, the inevitable Trump was brought up.
Trump potentially being elected.
Oh no, not gonna happen.
You got two forerunners and he's one of them. What's that about? What's
Yeah.
that got to say about the American people?
There are Trump supporters.
Erect a wall, you pay for it.
I mean, it's pretty bad.
So you do realise this is going to be the worst thing since modern civilization.
Brexit.
Sure, they had the Trump card, but I wasn't afraid to pull the Brexit one on them. The next day, we decided to stay local and hang out near Neil's family's surrounding suburb neighborhoods.
So people just hang out in the rain?
Although I wasn't sure it was a good idea with all the rain. But Neil said this was normal, so we kept going.
So this is a nice suburb, right?
Right, one of the nicest.
We never got to hang out in nice suburbs in Chicago. I mean, I went to Schaumburg once.
This was definitely better than Schaumburg or the Valley. I mean, everything was so cute and European.
Look, I'm being American.
Even the alleys were cute and, shockingly, not dangerous.
Only in Europe is it cool to hang out in a dark, cold alley.
We then headed down to central London, which was amazing. Big Ben, the London Eye, the Tower Bridge, a Mexican taco stand. Hold up, I need to infiltrate this like right now. Apparently this place is called Oaxaca and it's all the rage. Wait, do they know it's spelled wrong? Then I realized people here probably wouldn't know how to pronounce it, so this place was spelled phonetically. After my initial shock, I couldn't help but think,
Why didn't I think of that?
I tried the food, and granted it was one step above Chipotle, I have mad respect for a country so far removed from Mexican culture to even attempt to open a restaurant. I also realized that this wasn't an isolated incident. Our culture was pervasive here. It was infiltrating the city, and the influence was popping up everywhere. Okay, maybe not that one. Ay, Dios mío, have some respect for the queen. As we stumbled across Shoreditch, aka my favorite neighborhood in London, I found another real-life Latina. It was my friend Drea, who recently moved back to the UK with her husband, and I asked her what it was like living here. She said she's really enjoying it, but tells me that racism is also pervasive here, mostly among the much older generations. Oh, and the meat pies are everything. I just had to ask her.
One question. Do you think we'll see Will and Kate here?
Well, there's that. Close to our last day, we finally went to a real castle called a tower. Seriously, is anything called a castle around here? The Tower of London is a 900-year-old castle. That's right, they called it a castle online, and fortress that until the 17th century was used as a royal residence, but also housed the royal mint, records office, an armory, and barracks for troops. It's also home of the crown jewels, which we unfortunately could not film in, but they were awesome. After touring around his home city and soaking in the history, I wonder how Neil felt about all this.
How does being here make you feel?
I mean, ethnically he is of Indian descent, but he was born and raised here.
This was my home once.
The tower?
Yeah. I was a beef eater. One of those.
Garbage man?
Oh, a beef eater. Right. Apparently you're supposed to make them laugh, but I was too chicken to try. I mean, they're pretty intimidating. I think the more important question was,
Do you think I'll see Will and Kate here?
Probably not.
fine, I'll settle for dead royalty for now, like King Henry's suit of armor. Whoa, looks like he was packing more than just steel. Then there were the ravens, which apparently are a popular sight to take photos with. So I did. Kind of. Okay, that's enough. So maybe we still haven't seen Will and Kate, but then we had the amazing opportunity to step outside of the walls of 10 Downing Street, which was pretty badass.
So we're at number 10 Downing Street, the Prime Minister's home, which is basically like the White House equivalent, so this is pretty crazy.
This is so cool. We shall file this under one small step for me, one giant British step for Latinas everywhere.
So are Will and Kate here?
I couldn't resist. Even though London is full of old artifacts and rich history, it's also very modern. I mean, they have bathrooms that look like Austin Powers, amazing modern-day tea shops, a ton of killer bars and restaurants, and they even host NFL games here. Who knew? Well, I guess NFL fans do. We went to so many places it was hard to cover everything in just one video, but I wanted to share some of my experiences with you. I also brought you back a souvenir.
So do you think you brought back an accent?
Yeah, totally.
Go on then.
Oh dear, would you please pass the butter?
You sound constipated.
Well, I never.
What the fuck?
Is there